All right, Gabe, are you ready?
Yeah.
Mike, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Glass Half Sports. Today is Thursday, July 28th. As we creep up on August, I have some good news for everybody. You made it. Football is back. All 32 teams are back in camp, and me and Mike can get to our regular season as we are a very football-heavy show. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, man.
Glad to be back.
Like you said, excited for football season. I think it's 2 weeks from Sunday. We get to see Vikings football.
No more
Vegas,
footballless calendars until February. I wish the days would slow down now and we could have 36-hour days. That's all I could hope for now, because I love football season and it is in full swing already. It took our general manager all of about 24 hours to stick his big fat foot in his mouth.
We'll talk about that later. I think he's fine.
All right.
But we do have a big show for everybody.
Yes.
As usual, we're going to actually start talking about the Twins nearing the trade deadline. So we thought we'd bring in friend of the show, Nash Walker.
That's right.
Vikings over and unders, blind NFL takes. And if we have time, we have hot corner. And always, you guys can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch.
Look, you got them all in the first shot that time.
Yes,
That's called professional
I'm getting
growth.
better.
There we go. And then I guess we can welcome our guest right away. I know those of you that pay attention to our social media channels know this. We welcome back fan favorite and friend of the show, Nash Walker from Locked On Twins, to join us to talk Twins ahead of the deadline. How is life out in California, and how is your time in the booth?
Oh, it's been a blast, guys. I'm also excited for football season. It's a good break from baseball. The Twins have been hurting us a lot lately, so I too look forward to the Vikings. But yes, really in on the deadline right now. A lot of, analysis and research on what the Twins might do, and I'm very interested to see what they'll do. So I'm excited to break it down with you guys today.
All right, well, let's start it right away then, so you can kill my dreams right off the bat before this gets out of hand. Is there any chance that we can package together 6 prospects for Juan Soto, or am I just daydreaming?
If there was a pitcher equivalent of Juan Soto, I would say, of course, the Twins should be involved, but he's not. He's a left fielder, and they have hopefully guys who not Juan Soto-esque, but that's a strength of the team, right? The corners that's the strength of this team, is they have good corners. They have depth in the corners of the roster at first, third, left, and right field. So no, that's not going to happen. And if Juan Soto pitched, I would say they should be involved, but he does not. He plays basically the strength of the team.
Are we sure he can't pitch?
He probably could. Honestly, if Shohei was as available as Soto seems to be, I would say the Twins should be involved in that, because they wanted to sign Ohtani when he was an international free agent. They were in that mix. And if he was available, which he could be this offseason, that would be something they would break the bank for, I think, and should, but not they would, but they should. It's, he's not as much right now as Soto is, though.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go ahead and just take 30 seconds to mourn while Mike answers or asks another question.
It would be great. It would be amazing.
I mean, Nash basically said it right off the bat, right? We need pitching. So who is the pitcher or even top 3 that you would bring in if you're the GM of the Twins right now?
Yeah, I actually think my top 3, my number 3 is Tyler Mahle in Cincinnati, because when you combine costs, you combine talent level, you combine getting out of that ballpark, his splits are so insane at the Great American Bandbox, we call it, in Cincinnati. Throws hard, upper 90s or mid to upper 90s fastball, up in the zone, good hard slider, good splitter. He's a good pitcher. He's been hurt by his ballpark over and over and over. He gives up 1 billion home runs in Cincy. You get him out of Cincy, he's got a 2-something ERA. I think he would benefit at Target Field. He's under team control for next year. He's going to cost less than Luis Castillo or Frankie Montas, both of whom are under control for next year. But Luis Castillo is going to cost a ton. He's going to cost 3 of your top 10 prospects, most likely. Mahle won't. Montas is probably somewhere in the middle, more toward the Castillo end. Those are the top 3 for sure. But I think Mahle makes the most sense for them. And the farm system's not bustling with talent at the top end. You want to try to keep those guys. And I think you can with the addition of Mahle. And I think he will help stabilize this rotation. Also, if you get Mahle, it opens up other possibilities, because you didn't spend out of your entire system for him. So you can go out and get some relievers as well. If you go get Luis Castillo, if you want to get Daniel Barter, David Robertson, good relievers, you're going to look up at the end of the day and you're going to have nothing for next year. You're going to have very few guys. And, you could argue, like, this is a time that they should not care about that with Carlos Correa to the end of the year. But it's also hard to look at this team and be like, oh, they're one pitcher away from competing or being a World Series contender. They're multiple arms away. And that's why I like Mahle the most. Because if you add Mahle, you can add more.
That's true. Okay, just to piggyback off that question, then I have heard it floated on a couple of different websites that the Twins also have had discussions and expressed interest in Pablo Lopez from the Miami Marlins. That would be ahead of Castillo, ahead of Montas for me. Like, that's your ace for years and years to come. Is there any credence to this?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I haven't heard Lopez specifically for them. They should be involved on him too. The difference with him is he's got 2.5 years of team control. So he's a free after 2024, which almost is more attractive to the Twins because they expect to kind of get into this next window and win for a little bit here, starting in 2023, hopefully. He makes a ton of sense for them, but the Marlins have all the leverage in that case. They don't need to trade Pablo Lopez. And if they do, they're going to be looking for, as you said, a package that probably supersedes a package for Castillo. And at that point, I would just go get Castillo. But Pablo Lopez is awesome, and it makes a ton of sense for them. He does have a long injury history. He's had shoulder problems. He's never thrown more than 111 innings in a season, I think. But when he pitches, he's outstanding. Yeah. And they, in the past, this front office has placed less of an importance on injury histories. You saw it with Donaldson. They extended Byron Buxton. They'll go after pitchers who've been hurt in the past. They kind of use that as to their advantage in free agency and via trade. So I could see them getting Lopez because they surprised us in the winter, right? I remember sitting with you guys, and a week later they signed Correa, and I said, if they don't do anything, that's on them. So they've surprised us before, and I think they'll probably surprise us again at this deadline. So he's possible.
So we've been talking about bringing in guys to the clubhouse, bringing in different players from around the league. I'm concerned about what's in the clubhouse now.
Yeah,
so
what can we get
Nash, rid of? Well, what I'm saying is what needs to change in the current clubhouse now to make sure that we maintain first in the Central?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they're just so short on pitching talent. And I've said all offseason, all winter, I sat every single day recording it. I said, this season will be defined by their young pitchers. Yeah. If their young pitchers perform at a high level, they can be a really good team this year. And they haven't really gotten that. A lot of guys are hurt. You know, Duran's great. Joe Ryan is good. And Griffin Jacks is good. Yeah. But everybody else, all the young pitchers, Winder's hurt. Ober's hurt. Balazovic's been bad and hurt. Cantorino's hurt. A lot of their upper minors pitchers are hurt or ineffective, which, I mean, that's why you're not seeing good pitching at the major league level, is because all of their young guys, most of them, are hurt or ineffective. And 2 out of their 3 solid or good young starters or young pitchers are relievers. So it's just hard to build when you're not getting that production from within. And I don't know if it's necessarily they need to dish out from the clubhouse as much of it is we need to add so we can push Dylan Bundy, and he's not starting the 3rd game out of the All-Star break. So Chris Archer's not starting the 4th game out of the All-Star break. Push guys down the totem pole, and I think the team will look so much better if you do that. You can't expect Dylan Bundy to be your 3rd starter. Right. You know, he's not signed to do that. He's signed to be your 5th or 6th starter, and right now he's their 3rd starter, which, I mean, it's incredible they're in first place. It really is. It shows you how bad
I was gonna say how bad the rest of the division is.
How bad the division is, but also I think how good the offense has been. It's been a top 5 offense by many metrics, and I think they have a good enough offense to compete, but clearly the pitching staff's not there.
Yep. So, and then Mike was talking about, what pieces can we get rid of? I know, in comparison, the Oklahoma City Thunder sold James Harden for an end table at one point. I would be willing to give Miguel Sano up for a bag of sunflower seeds. What's it going to take to get out from under his massive contract right now? And what was the point with the way that Jose Miranda, Gio Urshela, Luis Ariz manning first, Gary Sanchez filling in pretty, consistently in that DH role? What was the point in even having him return to the roster?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him is next year it's a $14 million club option, and they can buy that out for $2.5 million. And I said to you guys when he was on the injured list, like, he's not playing for the Twins next year. I don't know. I think I said I might have said he's not playing for the Twins ever again.
Yeah,
but clearly the role that he's in right now is such a minuscule role. Like, he's starting against lefties. They yanked him so quick in that first Milwaukee game.
2 at bats, right?
Yeah, he was out of there in the 5th inning, and they pinch hit Luis Ariz for him almost immediately in the 9 hole. So I mean, he's not going to take at-bats from Miranda or Kirilloff or even Urshela, or he's not going to take at-bats from these guys. They've made that pretty clear. I think they want to trade him. They would trade him today, right? They want to trade Miguel Sano. Nobody wants Miguel Sano. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, they could have DFA'd him. I think they're giving him one more shot to build his value a little bit, either for a trade or just for him going into free agency. But it's pretty clear he's not going to be a big part of this club in the second half unless he destroys, which we haven't seen in a long time. So I don't know. I don't think he's a big part of the team, and he's either not going to be on the team at the deadline or he's not going to be on the team after October.
Okay. I mean, I'm as long as he's not with the team in 2023, yeah. I'm okay.
I mean, he will not be. He will not be.
My last question actually goes back to pitchers. Kenta Maeda is supposed to come back at the beginning of September. What can we expect from him, in your opinion, moving towards possible playoffs?
That would be awesome because you can get creative in the postseason where you can, Duran Duran can basically pitch every single game. You can have your relievers basically pitch every single night because you get those off days built in. So Maeda's return will be huge for them in a relief role. He's not going to start because it would take him another month or two to stretch out as a starter. But like if you could go, Montas or an acquisition, Malley for 5 or 6, and then you have Kenta for 2 out of the bullpen where he's been nails in the past for the Dodgers in the postseason. Unbelievable reliever. And then you go to Duran and you can shorten that game so much better when you have Maeda because he's a bridge to the bullpen where they just haven't that bridge. Their bridge has been Jarrell Cotton. Their bridge has been guys who can't pitch, who can't get consistently at the major league level. So yes, Maeda would be a big return. I think he's going to be back hopefully in September, and he's going to be in a bullpen role. And they certainly need good arms back there in the bullpen.
For sure. And then I'm gonna ask this last one here myself, as far as the trades go, and then we can look at the schedule a little bit and then get you out of here so you can enjoy the rest of your California day. There has also been some rumors out there that the Twins are looking for a catcher. I know that they brought in Gary Sanchez, but I think, quite honestly, they're looking for a guy that's going to be able to play the field and provide that bat instead of having to divide that role up into 2 different, spots in the batting order. The Cubs have pretty much said, hey, if you need Wilson Contreras, go ahead and come get him. Gabe's a huge Cub fan. What are the odds that he winds up in a Twins uniform here approaching the deadline? Because it looks like the Cubs are, again, going to be in sell mode at the deadline because they're going to move Ian Happ too, correct?
Yeah. Happ, Robertson, Contreras, maybe Hendricks. I mean, all those guys are basically up. It feels like this Contreras is a good example of where this front office can surprise some people because everybody's going to say, well, they're going to be focused on pitching. There's no way they're going to go get a high-end catcher, which is most likely. But everybody said, hey, they're focused on pitching. They're not going to go get a high-end shortstop. So I think it's a possibility that they would get Contreras in a package with David Robertson, who's been nails in the bullpen this year for the Cubs. That's a possibility. You're improving the lineup. You're improving your defense. You're improving the bullpen. And then you can go make another move for a starter, and you've filled basically 3 holes in that game. They need more than 2 pitchers, in my opinion. But if you got a Malley, a Castillo, or a Montas, and Robertson as your 2 pitching acquisitions, I think that's going to help a ton, especially with, Mike saying that Maeda will be back too. He'll help as well, hopefully down the stretch. And then you get Contreras. I mean, that makes sense to me, actually. It's a possibility. I would not rule that out. Christian Vasquez is also an impending free agent. He's the Red Sox catcher. He's been awesome. Good hitter, good defender back there. He's a good player, and he's going to be a free agent after this year. The Red Sox are in last place. I think Eovaldi, JD Martinez, Vasquez, Xander Bogaerts. I think all these guys are potential sells. If the Red Sox get in as sellers, which I think they will, you look at their schedule, it's awful. Yeah. If they get in as sellers, it's going to shake up the whole market because then Eovaldi becomes a big target for the Twins, in my opinion, as a guy who's pitched in the postseason. Upper 90s fastball. I know it hasn't been a great year for him. He's contributed to the struggles for the Red Sox, but man, I would love to have Eovaldi in this rotation, and Vasquez and Martinez are up. It's a possibility. So I think Contreras, don't rule it out for the Twins. A lot of teams will be after him, but I think a lot of good teams have good catchers already. So it could be a market inefficiency for the Twins there.
Let's go. All right. What do you see? Go ahead, Gabe.
Sorry. Not to be the negative guy or whatever, but yeah, also to be the negative guy. What am I missing here and I'm not a Twins fan primarily, so I genuinely could just be missing something. But why do we all of a sudden believe that the Twins front office is going to do something positive?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very valid
I
question.
mean, you look at 2019 and their biggest mistake, in my opinion, they came in 2017. They've made some blunders, certainly. Their biggest mistake, their biggest miscue was at 2019, the deadline, not adding more to that team. That team was awesome. Everybody was in on that team. The offense was incredible.
Yep.
And I actually think the offense this year is more dynamic than that offense was. I think this offense is more built around putting the ball in play. That offense was built around hitting home runs, pull power with Jonathan Scope and CJ Crone and Nelly and everybody. This offense, you have more guys who that's not what they do. I mean, that's part of their game, but that's not primarily what they do. And actually, I think this group is giving you enough reason to buy as 2019 did. But I think they made big mistakes in 2019, not going and getting Marcus Stroman. They were frustrated. You know, the Mets went and got him, and they felt like that package was less than they offered the Blue Jays for Marcus Stroman. So that was a big mistake. So yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I would point to this offseason, right? There was the same kind of notion about this offseason. Why would the front office, why would they go out and do this now when they just won 73 games, finished last place in a horrific division? Why are they going to go add now? And then they did. So I just wouldn't rule it out with them. If they don't, Gabe, that's extremely embarrassing. And I will rip them rightly if they don't go out and make some moves at the deadline. Because like you're in first place, right? You're the Poland protector. Yeah. I am not Jim Poland. No, they are in first place and they should be making moves. Yes, I understand what you're saying though. Like, why would we have faith at this deadline? I would point to them willing to make moves, trading Chase Petty, their first round pick for Sonny Gray, signing Carlos Correa, making moves this winter and kind of owning the post lockout transaction wire. Yeah. That would be what I would point to for why I have more hope at this deadline than I have in recent years. But I mean, put yourself in their shoes, guys. Watching this Twins team every night, does this team give you a bunch of confidence going into October? Hell no, no chance. So they're sitting there too, and they're like, this division's terrible. We might win the Central, but like, should we really like go out and get Luis Castillo for 3 of our top 5 prospects? And yes, I would argue that that's something that you should always be looking to do. But for them, they're sitting there thinking like this team doesn't inspire confidence, which I can get on board with. It's a tough trade deadline for them, but they do need to add significantly.
All right, go ahead, Gabe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, last thing. I just wanted to see if I get any credit from him or if he agrees in my hot take that Mike Trout is going to be traded this year.
Oh, Gabe's been driving the bus on this for 3 straight weeks. Every baseball topic we've had, he's like, the Angels are getting rid of him. It's the perfect time.
Yeah. Are they going to?
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt. He's hurt. Trout's hurt with a bad.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, bad back problem. But I've heard that Trout is only going to accept a trade to Philly, where he's from. So I've heard that he's only gonna waive that no trade for Philly, which it's possible that that's just smoke, that he would want to play for the Phillies. But it's possible, Gabe, but like he's hurt right now. It doesn't feel like the value on him is very high at all, considering his contract. He's got a $400 million contract. So any team, he's in his 30s now. Amazing player, obviously, one of the best hitters we've seen. But what are you getting?
Actually not that good. We did a comparison with him against Mickey Mantle his first 10 years, and he was slaughtered by Mantle.
Oh,
of course,
Mantle.
Mantle's, Mantle, but
yeah. I mean,
we
Mike Trout,
like he's Mantle of our era. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Mike Trout is of this generation. You have your Pujols and your Miggy, and leading into the next generation. I mean, I believe Trout leads that front in the next generation of great right-handed hitters. You have Miggy and Pujols. That led into Mike Trout. And you guys probably knock him for the Angels. And the team doesn't win. He's not necessarily a leader, but what he's been able to do into his, he's still youngish, I think it's incredible. Gabe, you might be down on him. That's fine. Okay. I think he's incredible, but
how about
I don't know.
How about this? Really quick, and I'll get out of the way. Let me ask you this then. How many years has Mike Trout had 100 or had more than 100 RBI?
I know the answer to
4 or 6?
4 or 6? It's two options there?
Yes.
Well, I'll say 4 because I feel like I'm getting...
No, the actual answer is 2. 2!
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing, Gabe. Like, here's the thing. No. This is
one of those years he had 46 home runs.
Yes. So yes. Okay. That's a great example, right? Yep. So the new school and the old school, the thinking is if you don't drive in runs, like if you don't drive in 100 runs, you're not a good run producer.
True.
Right. But a lot of times your lineup sucks, right? There's not guys on base in front of you. I'm sure if you looked at Mike Trout's runners in scoring position numbers, I'm sure they're great. He's just not getting those opportunities like somebody else is getting, like Jose Abreu even gets in Chicago for the White Sox, who drives in 100 a year. He doesn't get the same opportunities. So he hits 46 home runs. How do you not drive in 100 runs? Because there's nobody on base. He's hitting a bunch of solo homers because his lineup sucks and the Angels win 75 games every year. So that's kind of how I view it.
Or he's a garbage time hitter.
Or he's
a garbage time hitter. I watched Sammy Sosa for years hit home runs when it's 72.
Gabe, I want you to look up Mike Trout's career line with runners in scoring position. And if it's poor, I will give you credit, but I don't think it is. I think he has a very good line with runners in scoring position. Let's do it right now.
We shall meet it. Okay. I can.
Mike's looking it up right now.
Okay,
Mike, yeah. Let's look up his line with runners in scoring position.
What is a good line with that? I don't even know. I don't do these newfangled numbers.
Like his,
tell me his average.
His normal, like 280 to 300 with runners in scoring position.
280 is great with runners in
scoring.
Runners in scoring position.
All right, here we go. Splits for his career. 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Okay, let's see. Runners in scoring position. He's a 316 hitter with an OPS over 1,000.
What?
Jesus.
Yeah, that's really good.
But that detonates my argument.
Yes, it does.
That's no fair.
1,300 plate appearances. He's hitting 316. On base percentage, 465 with 68 home runs with runners in scoring position.
So he must hit a lot of chopper singles to the gap that he outruns.
Yes, that get over the fence. That get over the fence. Yes.
No, he just doesn't have a lot of. He doesn't have. I'm sure if you were to look at a guy that's in a charged lineup like when Carlos Stanton or Aaron Judge or something, the opportunities that they have received with runners in scoring position are probably a lot higher than what Mike Trout has had.
Gabe, he's had 968 at bats with runners in scoring position. He's driven in 518 runs with runners.
Yeah, that's
here. This is all I'm saying.
That's
it. When this is said and done. So his injuries now, he's just gonna like backslide into his career. He's like 4 years left.
Possible. It's possible.
He's not going to have any postseason appeases. 2 years with over 100 RBI. Like
he's not a Hall of Fame player.
Gabe, I just told you. Gabe, I just told you. I just told you why that 2 years with 100 RBIs is not significant. But why is that his fault?
I would still have to look at that. Like how many extra base hitters? Like why is running and scoring? How can his average be that high with runners in scoring position?
Because he doesn't
have that few RBI.
Because he doesn't get that many opportunities with runners in scoring position. He has 67 doubles, 11 triples, and 68 home runs with runners in scoring position. Like that's
Gabe. Think about it this way: in his career, he's had 5,000 at bats. Only less than 1,000 of them have been with runners in scoring.
Yeah, that's a team around him. That's not him.
That's one every 5. That's
there you go. I mean,
one every other night.
Hey guys,
it's a
I'm
dysfunctional organization.
I'm not backing off this.
That's fine.
It's a dysfunctional organization.
No, that's good. That's a very good pull.
Everybody has hills that they will die on. Mike thinks that Joe Mauer is a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
Gabe hates Mike Trout, and me and Nash Walker will die on the Miranda Mania Hill. That's where everybody
really
stands.
Quick.
Yeah, I mean, come
really
on.
Quick. Is Joe Mauer not a Hall of Famer?
Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer.
Stop it.
Joe Mauer is absolutely a Hall of
Famer. Get out of here. Is Mark Grace a Hall of Famer?
No.
Mark Grace didn't play the catcher position while he did it. It's harder.
You serious?
It's harder.
Pull up the splits on that.
Gabe is ready to stick a knife in somebody's chest after that comment right there.
They're the same player. There's no difference.
No, Joe Mauer is one of the best hitting catchers of all time.
Because of the defensive position that he played. That's the difference.
It is true that Joe Mauer hit more ground balls than any catcher in the history of this game. He had more ground ball singles and general ground balls. Yeah.
Calendar preview time?
Huh? Yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
So what do you
awesome appearance?
Yeah, just what do you got coming up for the Twins? Obviously, some tough games ahead of the deadline. Yeah. Obviously, me and Mike both agree. We think that helps in them seeing what it's going to be like to take on a lot of playoff teams. It aids in them noticing that they probably need to make a move. What do you foresee in the next a few weeks for the Twins.
Yeah, they have 4 games until the deadline. So you have 4 games to see them until they have hopefully new players on their roster, new good players on their roster. It's an interesting schedule. They have 20 home games in August, 20 home games, which is great. I mean, they're better at Target Field. They're more fun to watch at Target Field. They hit more at Target Field, but they have some tough series. They got 4 against Toronto. They got the Giants and Red Sox, and the Giants and Red Sox could be sellers at the deadline, and that'll look a lot better later in the month. But they got to go to LA to play the Dodgers. They have to go to Houston in August as well. But they do have 20 home games, which I think benefits them. And then you look in September, they have to go to Yankee Stadium for 4 leading into September. And then they go to Chicago to play the White Sox. That'll be a huge series. No question. That'll be a huge series. And then they have a long stretch basically to the end of the year where it's only American League Central, where it's like Royals, Guardians, Tigers, White Sox, and they're done. So maybe after that White Sox series, things are super tight or they're even back in the division is what I expect. And then they kind of make a surge down the stretch if they make the right additions down the stretch into September. Here's what I'll tell you. I think the series in Chicago in October, the last series of the year, is going to matter. I think that's going to matter for the Central. I think it's going to matter for the wild card race, and that'll be high stress. I'm not even ready for that, but I think that series will matter. So if that tells you how I feel about this second half, I think the schedule is light enough where they're not going to collapse. But I also think the White Sox are playing better baseball, and they're going to be in the mix with the Guardians as well. I mean, why would you count out the Guardians at this point? They're still hanging around. They're still playing good baseball. It's a possibility they win this division too. So it's a 3-horse race, and I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we'll probably have to have you back on after the trade deadline here to, either I'll give you your chance to trash the Twins if they don't make any moves, because I know that'll be the bandwagon that we sit on as well. But until then, man, enjoy the California sunshine. Good luck in finding a spot in a booth. I know that's what you're hunting down. We are Nash Walker supporters here at Glass Half Sports. So any booth that you are in are games that we will listen to.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
Until then, man, take care. As always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter and online to read some of your articles, and we can get you on your way.
Yeah, at Nash Walker 9 on Twitter, twinsdaily.com, posted all the time. Locked On Twins, wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Gabe, keep doing your thing.
Hey.
I will say, hey.
Good luck justifying your Joe Mauer take there tonight.
Gabe,
yeah.
Gabe, next time we talk, I want you to have a sheet of numbers that back up your statements. I would love that. I would love a little empirical evidence, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
I will have that.
Take care, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
As always, just like one of the most fun guys to talk to on the show.
He's a very good guest.
That was super fun.
Animated as can be.
Super fun.
However, I mean, negative points in my camp for him backing Joe Mauer. How dare he? You know what? Actually,
it's almost like he knows baseball.
It's almost like he's young enough to where he grew up in the brainwashed era of Joe Mauer pontification.
It's not his fault, right?
It's not,
he was indoctrinated.
No.
He couldn't.
You are a product of your circumstances, right? Yeah. And that's I can't hold that against him. You have no excuse. You have no excuse. You know Twins pre-Mauer, so you should go get checked.
It'd be one thing if they'd say that Mark Grace is also a Hall of Famer. Then at least I can understand your logic. But yeah.
All right, well, should we move away from baseball and move into football because it is football season?
Sure.
What?
Yes.
What are you, a deflated balloon on that side of the table?
Yeah,
You guys are just mean sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, we are.
Yep.
Only thing you can do is punch back. So let's move on over to got to move on over to the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to do a segment now called Over Unders, but we're going to take a quick pause because I want Mike to defend Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's statements on being nervous about not tearing it down for Kirk Cousins. A lot of backlash on other media channels yesterday saying that that's probably not something you should do your first day, back to camp in the media as a first-year GM for a quarterback that you opted to pay $40 million and give an extension to in a very crucial time in this aging team's winning window.
What did he do wrong? What did he do wrong? He said he wasn't a Mahomes or a Brady.
Right.
Okay. Is that incorrect?
No.
Okay. Do we need him to be a Mahomes or a Brady?
I mean, I think we need more Brady Mahomes-ish.
I don't think we need him to be a Brady or a Mahomes.
Okay.
If Rex Grossman can get to the Super Bowl. We have a team around
All
Kirk
right.
now that can elevate his play enough that he doesn't have to be a Brady or Mahomes. I don't think Kwesi did anything wrong.
All right. I just wanted you to defend the
I think-
statement.
And I think the media making a big deal out of it is because there hasn't been anything else from this team or this camp that has been newsworthy.
You know what, Mike? Good job. Good job defending, your boy. I know you're a Kwesi fan. Kwesi for Kwesi.
Mhm.
That's you, right?
I mean, I'm not totally sold on his moves yet.
Oh, okay.
However,
I mean, if he goes out and finally gets JC Treader, I think I'd put,
I would be on the Kwesi bandwagon. Yes,
but with $12 million in cap space and that guy just sitting out there in free agency, I don't know what the fuck we're doing.
I don't know.
Mike, would you like to take this opportunity to apologize for your draft night response then?
Ooh,
No, because I said I wasn't fully on the bandwagon,
that's true.
and I
Okay.
don't support all of the moves that he's made. So no,
It
I
is
would
one of
not
the
like
greatest
to,
moments
actually.
in podcast broadcasting.
Oh my gosh.
history.
I
still think
rewatch that
was
once a week.
mistake, if I'm being completely
I
honest.
rewatch
don't-
that once a week.
I think Scene could be good, but I still think we could have gotten more value.
Absolutely.
So
I had a friend who actually brought it up the other day who watched it. Like, I don't know how he found it even
Yeah.
because you'd think that'd be far back, but he brought it up. He goes, "Were those guys like serious?" There, I go, "Oh, dead." I go, "They're not that good actors."
Dude,
I'm like,
it's pinned to the
That's
top of our
why it's so
Facebook
funny.
page, and it has been
Oh.
since draft night.
Okay, that's why then. Yeah, it was awesome though, because I was like, no, that's why it was truly one of the funniest. If for anyone listening who hasn't seen it, I am a comedian. I have comics in here all the time, my friends and stuff. It's one of the funniest things I have ever seen in this studio. I was with you in the moment.
Yeah.
But it was, you guys were so over the top and tied to your real fans.
I waited
You're
4
real
hours for that
fans.
pick.
we did
Mhm.
wait all night.
I waited
It was the
4
last
hours
pick
for that
of the
It
pick.
was a heavy night.
Amid
It was a heavy
controversy
night.
and other things, I waited 4 hours for that pick.
Yeah. I told the next day, one of your greatest moments as a broadcaster, and I stand by it. It was so good.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Well, let's talk about some over-unders for the team then,
Yes.
shall we? Put together a couple of graphics here. Some of them to start are based on last year, things that happened to the Vikings that, should have gone the other direction. So we'll just take our collective opinions here and go over/under on a few of these. Starting with wins versus 2022 playoff teams. At 4.5, we play 7 of them this year.
Under.
You're gonna go under 4.5 playoff team wins
Yes.
from 2022. Gabe?
I'm gonna
I'm
say
gonna-
3 and 4.
Actually, can you go so I can think real quick? I want to make sure.
Yeah, so we have the Packers twice, I think.
Under. I forgot Kirk Cousins is our quarterback.
See, and that is the overall consensus for a lot of fans. I'm gonna go over, but I'm only going over because I think it's gonna be like 5. I think I don't think we're winning 6. I don't think we're winning
5
7.
is more than 4.
Correct. But I think it's going to be like 5 really close nail bite playoff wins against teams. We're letting Kirk off the chain this year. Unleash the caged animal.
Who are you?
The you like that? I just saved your fucking job, Kirk Cousins. I want that guy. The guy that pushed Mike Zimmer. And I believe that that's true, by the way. All right, what do we got next?
All right. 2.
Kirk is that like little tiny dog behind the sliding glass door that's barking a ton. You open the door and it just goes.
Lola, you mean? Yeah. All right, here we go. Over or under game winning or tying kicks missed this year. 2.5.
Under.
Under. Okay, so you have some faith in the new kicker that we signed.
I mean, I hope that we're not in that situation
Gotcha.
too many times.
Yeah, that's tough to think.
Let's say
of
we're
losing 3 games.
Yeah.
Well,
with
and
kicks.
that's saying that's us kicking the ball to win the game
Or
so
tie.
Let's say that happens 3 times. I say we miss one of them, so under.
Okay.
Oh, hold on now. So this is only at the end of the game, obviously.
Yeah, to tie
Right,
and go to
to tie.
overtime
And
or
it's
to
with
win
us
it.
with the ball, not
Okay.
the other team.
Yes.
Right? So
No, I
How
got
many
you. I'm
times
just
is
saying,
that
like
really
in the
gonna
third
happen?
quarter or whatever. Yeah. So, well, actually, man, I think it's gonna be more because I think this dude's gonna get shit canned after missing 2, and then we'll have some other dude, and he'll probably miss
one.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have the over, and if it is the over with a new group of leadership for the Minnesota Vikings, then it's officially a fucking curse. Then we just never kick the ball ever again. We just do what Gabe says and go for the analytic piece and go for it on fourth down every single time.
It's time. It's time.
All right, what's your next one?
Gabe will tell you.
This one is. Here it comes.
Over under games played by Viking stars this year. 54 games. Now, 54 and a half games. Now, for context, that's 54 and a half games is 80% of games played by the four guys collectively on the screen. Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Zadarius Smith, and Danielle Hunter, who have all had injuries in the last couple of years that have held them out.
Under.
You're going to go under. Okay, so you think we're gonna have
Unfortunately.
some issues this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Reason being?
Danielle hasn't proved that he can be healthy in 2.5 years.
Correct.
Zadarius had
Back surgery
issues last year, and
Correct.
he's just getting older. It's tough. It's tougher to rebound from stuff like that as you get older.
Okay.
Plus, it's tougher to stay healthy as you get older. Same with Adam Thielen. And Cook hasn't played a full season, I don't
Ever.
think, since
Ever.
suiting up. So I'm going to say under, unfortunately. If it's over, we're for sure winning the North.
So I think it's under as well, but I will say this. I think we avoid the big injury.
Okay.
So I think we're not going to lose Danielle for an entire
So
year.
you think we're under, but it's at like 53.
50, 53, you know what I mean? Like, I think we miss Zadarius for 2 or 3 games. We miss Danielle for 2 games. We miss Dalvin for 2 games. We miss Adam for 2 games. But we avoid the Dalvin tears his ACL or Danielle destroys his pec or ruins his neck or Zadarius injures his back and he's out all season. Like, I do think that this year there is a little bit of a lighter culture, and I think sometimes mentally that will affect you than physically. So when your mental's right, your body does feel better. I think as athletes, we can all admit that. Look good, feel good, play good, right? And that'll keep us out of the injury doghouse, so to speak, this year, for anything serious. So I will take the under, but with good things to come. All right, and then lastly, we'll go over some player over-unders.
All right. We got. Wait a second. Here we go.
Oh, here we go. This is the other one. Scores allowed under 2 minutes in the half or the game this year. 7.5.
7.5 scores.
Scores allowed. Well, yeah, 7.5 scores allowed under 2 minutes of half or game. That was our big problem last
I'll
year.
say under because it can't.
It can't be last year.
It can't be over.
Now there's how many opportunities in
You play 17 games.
34?
Yeah, 34 opportunities basically.
So you think for less than a quarter of the games?
Yeah.
Less than a quarter of the opportunities?
I believe.
I will take the under as well. I think the part of the reason being is I was encouraged by Dalvin Cook's comments. We put this on our social medias social media yesterday. Dalvin was asked, what do you see for out of Ed Donatell's new defense? And he's like, I see Zadarius all over the place. I see Danielle all over the place. And I see Harrison Smith everywhere. So that tells me instead of the traditional Mike Zimmer line them up and man on man, let's see who can beat who thing,
Right.
We're going to play a lot of matchups. I think situational matchup play leads to better success in situations like this.
Correct.
So I will take the under as well.
Correct.
We will rebound as a defense this year.
Okay.
Back to the back to being the purple people eaters. All right. And now we've got some player over-unders. Let's start with Justin Jefferson. 1,800 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Over.
On both.
Yards is going to be close for sure. Over on touchdowns.
I'm going to give him the over on yards, and I'm going to say he's the first receiver to crack 2,000 yards. I will also give him the over on touchdowns because if you have that many yards, it does not make sense for you to not have that many touchdowns. I think him playing the Cooper Kupp role, I like Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is great. But I think Justin Jefferson is a more talented wide receiving weapon than Cooper Kupp is. Cooper Kupp does a lot of great things in the run game and things like that. Jefferson's more of like a pass weapon.
Sure.
Right. And then Danielle Hunter this year, 14.5 sacks, 20.5 tackles for loss.
So oddly enough, I'm actually going to say under on sacks, but over on tackles for loss.
Okay. I'm going to go the opposite.
I don't see him being as explosive coming back.
Okay. Well, I mean, the difference for him, I think, is I would worry if it was that he doesn't if they were back-to-back lower body injuries. They're not. They're both upper body injuries, which is a little bit different for a twitchy, explosive, defensive line athlete. Also, he's not going to have his hand in the dirt, and he's going to, like I said, he's going to play matchup football this year. So if they have a weak guard, you're probably going to see him stunt standing up with a running start on a guard this year. Right. So I'm going to give him the over on sacks, but I think due to the new multiple front defense with some of the defensive run stopping weapons that we have this year, we don't see him in the run game nearly as much, maybe to protect him. So we don't see quite as many tackles for loss. So you think
maybe over sacks?
Oh yeah. Tackles for loss. Yep. Right. So I think he could be, don't be surprised if he ends the year with 17, 18 sacks this year.
I would be surprised. I'm going to be surprised. Dalvin Cook, all-purpose yards, 1,650 and 14.5 touchdowns.
So these are both average stats for Dalvin Cook, by the way. Years where he plays the majority of the games. This is about where he's at.
Under.
You think the new offense trends away from Dalvin a little bit?
I think it does lend a little bit more so to a 2 running back set. So I think we see a little bit more of Alexander Madison. But I'm not convinced that Dalvin Cook let me get this very clear. Dalvin Cook is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL.
Yes.
He is equivalent to Mike Trout in a way, to the point where he is one of the best when he plays, but he only plays about half the games.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I'm actually going to say that he's probably right on par at 1,650. If I had to pick, I would probably go under on all-purpose yards, but I think one of the differences is we're not going to see 1,300 to 1,500 rushing yards. We're probably going
to 11 and then
like 400 or 500 receiving yards, because I think Dalvin Cook in that offense, especially with some of the athletic offensive line pieces that we have put together this year or have this year, as guys continue to develop with like Ezra Cleveland and Brian O'Neill and Darisaw, the screen game is probably going to be incredibly important for the Vikings this year. But I do think his touchdowns are going to come down quite a bit, because I think you're going to see Alexander Madison, who is a little bit of a tougher runner in smaller spaces, become a little like more of the goal line style back to save Cook for the playoff rush. And then last but not least, Aaron Kendricks.
I'll say over.
Over on 105 tackles and 7.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, I'll say over. Actually, I'm going to say under for tackles for loss. I'll say over for tackles. He's going to have to fly around with our new defensive scheme, and we're just going to kind of try to muck up the line as much as possible, but he's going to be taking on a lot more blocks. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do. I think his speed and athleticism is going to help him tremendously be around the ball constantly. So I'm going to say over for tackles, under for tackles for loss, just because he will have to take on that block from a guard.
I'm also going to go under for tackles for loss, but I'm going to go under for tackles for a good reason. I think the addition, and I think a lot of us has forgotten this. What's the linebacker that we added? Adding Jordan Hicks means that the burden of being like the only weapon in the middle of the field, to stop the run is
good.
I think what you're going to see a lot of is you're going to see a lot of Aaron Kendricks in spy situations or matched up on tight ends, and you're going to see Hicks being the guy that's taking on the fullback on play action passes and things like that to muck up the run game, because I think Hicks is better in the run game than Aaron Kendricks is.
Just a little bigger.
Aaron Kendricks is probably the best pass defending middle linebacker in the NFL right now. Yeah. So I think under on both, but for good reasons.
Are you saying
unlike
Aaron,
Mike's, which were bad reasons?
Are you saying Aaron Kendricks?
No.
You're saying Eric?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Wanted you to be
Eric
on the right path.
Ooh, an enunciation correction.
Well, his brother is Aaron, right? Who's his brother? His brother that played for Philly. Michael Kendricks.
Mychal, the weirdest spelling of Michael I've ever seen.
Yeah, the one that Chris Collinsworth always mixes him up with when he covers the Vikings.
Yeah, Chris Collinsworth doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that guy needs to retire. All right, well, that's what we have. Any other surprises that you may have for the Vikings over under breakout player this year, Mikey?
KJ Osborne.
KJ Osborne.
I'm going to say over 600 yards receiving.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I'm going to go Kene Wangu. 4 kick returns or punt returns for touchdowns this year.
I'll take that bet. $1?
He's going to be the most explosive return weapon in the league this year.
All right. We'll see.
All right. Gabe, any surprises you think the Vikings are going to have? Don't want to leave you out back there.
No, thank you for including me.
Yep.
I fell out last year, so I'm actually just committed to watching again. I hope I'm trying to feed off your guys' enthusiasm, but it's so fucking hard. Like, I don't know why, man. God, we feel doomed. I was in the building in '98. I just can't handle it. Ever since, we feel doomed. I can't stand Cousins. I know that everyone's trying to get back on board. I can't. I like Dalvin Cook. Doesn't seem like he's going to be a focal point.
The Cookie Monster? Wearing number 4 this year. Chef Dalvin?
Let us know what you guys thought about our over and unders. And if there's anything that we maybe missed going into the 2022 NFL season.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to hearing from you guys on social media. If we don't get back to you here on the show, we'll get back to you afterwards. And now we're going to do a segment that we've never done before.
We haven't. We're going into it blind, you could say.
Yeah. Look at you, a little play on words. We're going to do a blind takes segment today. I have written down some preposterous statements in this bowl right here for the 2022 NFL season, and we're just going to pull them out, and then you're going to have to defend that take. So I'm going to let Mike go ahead and start here. Go ahead and read it out for the folks.
The Saints are a contender in 2022.
Defend that take, Michael.
I'd say wild card is within the realm of possibility because they do have Michael Thomas coming back. You can hope for the best with the Kamara legal situation.
Sounds like he's not going to get a suspension.
That he is playing all 17 games for you. Those two weapons right there are a competent offense in the NFL as long as you have not Jimmy Clausen quarterbacking for you. Their defense is actually somewhat decent. Their secondary is young. Their front seven is old. So it's basically this year or you are into a total rebuild.
They did add Juice and Tyrann Mathieu.
I see it as within the realm of possibility that they go 10-7 and sneak into the wild card.
And then Michael Thomas is back. Did you see that yesterday?
I did say that.
Okay.
I did say that. I said build your offense around Thomas and Kamara and hope to God your defense can hold it down enough that you can win 10.
All right. So Mike's a believer in the New Orleans Saints this year.
For those 5 minutes, I was. For those 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right.
Nick, you're up.
All right, let's see what we got in here. I'll take this one. What's this? Which one do we get here? Oh, Niners are better off starting Jimmy G. I'll bite. I believe that moving into the Trey Lance thing is probably something that you're going to have to do at some point. I also think that if you're going to do it now, you're jeopardizing the financial standpoint or the security of the team that you've built with him over the last 3 to 5 years. They were 0-5 when he came in, then he got there and began, actually they were 0-8 or whatever, and he won like the last 5 games. They were awful. The contract makes sense with his shoulder surgery as well. I don't think you're going to be able to trade him for the value that he's worth. I think he is what is best for Deebo Samuel at this point. I think he is what is best for Brandon Ayuk. I think he is what is best for that run game in the way that Shanahan tends to run that offense. The growing pains, we talked about it with how competitive the NFC is going to be at the top end of the division this year. The growing pains that Trey Lance would then have to go through may lend to them making the mistakes that leaves them missing the playoffs. So for long-term value, sticking with Jimmy G isn't the worst thing in the world.
It's not. There's just a better thing to do, and that's go with Trey Lance.
I don't know.
You didn't convince me, sir. You didn't convince me. All right, my turn.
Let's go.
Let's see. Can I pick a new one?
Which one did you get?
Brian Daboll wins Coach of the Year with Giants.
Oh, convince me, Michael. Convince me.
Daniel Jones would have to be basically remolded.
Okay.
If Daniel Jones can look like because he does have the athletic ability, as weird as this is about to sound.
Fastest quarterback in the NFL.
Daniel Jones has the athletic ability to be a Josh Allen light.
Yeah.
Okay. And if Daboll can get that out of him, if Saquon can stay healthy,
okay,
if they can win 8 games. That's the thing about the Giants is they're so bad that in order for Daboll to actually legitimately be a Coach of the Year candidate, it's not like they have to be 12-5. If they go 8-9, He is a legitimate possible coach of the year candidate, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean,
did I convince you?
I mean, if they win 8 games, sure. I mean, they have the weapons, right?
Is it possible for them to win 8 games? Yes.
Kadarius Toney.
Is it gonna happen?
Galladay.
No.
They've got, Evan
if it
Ingram.
does, credit to Dable.
Credit to Dable. 8 wins gets him coach of the year. I'll bite on that. I would bite on that. And then, Gabe, do you want to do one of these at the very end here? We'll read one off to you.
Yeah, sure. I can try one, but please read this off clearly to me because I missed last 2 a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Just when you do these or restate. I'm an idiot.
Can I pick a different one?
Nope.
Can you read it? Tomlin continues playoff streak in 2022. Mike has been on this for a long time, saying that Tomlin is a guy that just doesn't miss the playoffs.
I honestly think he's one of the best coaches in NFL history.
I would agree with you, and it was a mistake that the Minnesota Vikings ever let him walk out the door to re-up with Childress. They are going to be fighting an uphill battle this year. That is for sure. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, right, Mike?
That is true.
And they're going to start the year with Mitchell Trubisky before they inevitably hand the keys of the kingdom over to Kenny Pickett. I think the only way that this gets done is if Trubisky, Tyrod Taylor-esque, catches an early injury. They get Kenny Pickett in early, and they just lean on Najee Harris in that defense and turn into like the Steel Curtain Steelers, Najee Harris with 30 touches a game, very Derrick Henry-esque, and then utilizing Deontay Johnson in a ton of RPO situations. And really, like when I say leaning on the defense, that defense is going to have to be the top defense in the league. Now, if those things can happen and Chase Claypool does what he says he is, which is a top 3 receiver in the NFL, I'll go ahead and toss that in here. Then, yeah, maybe I could see with Burrow not being healthy, Lamar's contract dispute, does he get moved at the deadline? The Browns and their quarterback situation, is there a way for the Steelers to sneak into the playoffs in 2022? Sure.
Everybody starts the year 0-0. All right, here's Gabe's. I'll read yours off, Gabe.
I'm ready.
Is that the one you? Okay.
This show gets a sponsor before the Vikings win a Super Bowl.
Defend that take.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And if you don't, you're a couple of fucking losers. Because goddamn knows the show is good enough. We could have had one 5 times over by now.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even get me started. For real. No question. If we don't, I will fucking blow my head off on a live stream. And then hopefully that'll get you some anti-suicide helpline sponsors.
I thought it was so ironic that Mike picked that one out of the bowl for you to defend.
Feels like a setup.
It was definitely not. These were about as blind as can be.
Really?
There's some other ones.
You can't really see them.
Yeah, there's some.
Do another one?
I mean,
because?
Yeah, yeah, we can do another one.
So, and I want to say something for the audience.
Yeah.
Truly, of the 10 shows, whatever that we produce here, I'm absolutely. This is a firm. And really, when you're like top 3, I'm just saying all of those 3 I'd consider just 1A, 1B, 1C, like whatever. You guys are in that echelon. The only. I have new shows who've never done shit who come on with a sponsor. You deserve one. You'll have one. We just haven't put focus on it because we've been building a great fucking show.
It's true. Focus is on production.
Yep. That's what we've been doing. But yeah.
All right, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one you have to defend.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield plays less games than Sam Darnold.
Shit. I don't know this situation well enough, but I know this. From what I've read about this guy, I know Nick hates him.
Yeah, he's awful. Did you see the clip yesterday where he underthrew a receiver by 20 yards in their first set of plays?
It actually made me believe in him more than ever because it gives me the confidence to know that he has the confidence to fail. And I'm really, I don't fucking know.
The confidence.
Yeah. No, I don't. Truly, no idea. I don't know enough about him. Sorry.
You want to take a crack at this?
Give me something about 80s baseball.
No, because I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
You think Baker Mayfield's going to be a Pro Bowler?
No, I don't.
I was about to hit you over the head with this pot.
Honestly, though, if McCaffrey can stay healthy, I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
Because the take was Darnold plays more games than Baker, right?
It is. But That's my honest opinion. Is Baker is dynamic enough that you put him with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, and they can win some games.
Okay, I got one for you guys.
All right.
Ready? It's going to come up on screen here. You guys both have to defend this separately.
Oh. Ooh.
I'll say it just with this one statement. The rest of the Central is bad enough that we can't screw it up.
Okay, then let me up the ante.
Oh, shit.
There is a route. I do believe that if
This man just can't take
Right.
that turn.
he has to, there is a time and place for anything. And actually here, I've got this perfect. What have we seen the Vikings do with finally moving off of Zimmer and Spielman, committing to Kirk, going out and signing some free agents, Jordan Hicks that we know that we needed, drafting well, so on and so forth. We've put ourselves in a position to win. We've been aggressive. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay. What have we seen the Timberwolves do this offseason with the Rudy Gobert trade? Now we have a legitimate starting five that national analysts say can take us to the championship. Have we put ourselves in positions to win?
Yep.
I believe everything in Minnesota sports is cyclical. And with those other
Word of the week, everybody, cyclical.
Yeah, cyclical. They always seem to be C words, carnivorous. Everything is
going with that.
is everything is cyclical. And with the other owners putting an emphasis on winning in Minnesota sports, the Twins won't miss the boat. They will make 2 deals at the deadline that put them far and away in first place by the time the end of the season comes. We will play our first round at home, probably because we won't be playing the Yankees. We will get out of the first round, and then very Yankees-esque choke job. The Twins will waltz into the World Series and then probably lose it.
That was kind of my take when Mike wrote his Soto thing or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't even matter. We're just going to lose to the Yankees anyway.
Yeah.
But.
Well, that was blind takes. We should do some more of that.
Yeah,
Mike,
we'll have to do that some other time.
do you see a route for the Twins getting to the World Series?
Oh, I purposely avoided the question.
That's why I want to hear your opinion. Because, it is weird for me as the outsider guy. I see the Twins as an exciting young team.
They are. But what's unfortunate is because where we should be, Gabe, is be an exciting young team in second or third vying to fight for our division.
Yep.
But because the rest of the division is so poor, we're going to be first. We're going to win the division. We're going to have higher expectations than what our roster actually dictates.
Am I hearing a little twinge of little fear of
fear of winning?
Fear of winning, maybe a little bit comes to that.
Why are you afraid to win, Mike?
Because winning before you're ready sets you up for a big failure in the playoffs, which can be a huge morale loss for young players over their career. Because guess what? You know what is actually going to happen to the Twins this year?
What?
We're going to win the Central by winning like 85 games. We're going to play the Yankees in the first round, and we're going to get swept.
Fair enough.
You really believe the things you just said, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Like he believes Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer.
You think that it's negative for them
to get swept in the first round again?
Hold on. Isn't that just experience? Don't you just
yes.
You just learn that and then they come back the next year, redouble their efforts and win?
So at what point does experience actually not benefit you though? Like Gabe, if I just handed you a scalpel and sent you into a surgery room for 10 hours and said, well, I mean, no, you have 10 hours of experience
I would
in
argue
surgery.
That does benefit me, just not the patient.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would learn from it. Just not the patient. So,
but you're not going to learn enough to the point that it's
the fan.
That's not true.
All right.
And it's not like he's going in there without it. It's not like he'd be going in there unsupervised. He would go in there with somebody that'd be like, well, the decision you need to make should look like this.
And who's supervising the Twins?
Rocco Baldelli.
Do you coach your kids to say, hey, just this is your first year. Let's not throw it in the end zone. Let's just take a knee. I don't want you to win too early.
Hey, Andover, you know what? I know that we didn't quite make it to state last year, but that's okay.
We did.
We didn't need to get to the state championship. It would have been too early for this program to get there.
Ready, sorry.
Wow, it's almost like high school sports where you have kids for a year or two if you're lucky. Is a little bit different than professional sports where you build out winning windows that are 3 to 5 years wide. Almost like it's different. Shocking.
But for real, how is that bad? I'm so confused.
Mike hates this narrative.
I know he does, but
I just want him to.
Okay,
I want him to
here's
debunk
the
it.
thing. Here's the thing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But what would be better for the young development of the team is if we played in a better, more competitive division. If we were second or third in a division right now.
I'm so sorry.
I'm listening.
Sorry.
I'm listening. That's Gabe. I'm
really
listening.
Wasn't trying to.
Like, legitimately, though, how many games against your division do you play a year?
In baseball,
Yeah.
like half.
Like, let's say 80 games,
Yeah.
just for the sake of argument. So if you're playing 80 games a year against better competition, you are going to get better.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
No.
Okay.
Agree.
So that's my entire point, is because our division is so poor, our shit roster of young pitchers is looking halfway decent enough to lead a team in a division.
Counterpoint. How are they ever going to get the experience in a division that we can't, like, control the controllables, right? We can't change that the rest of the division is shitty.
Well, I understand
what we can control is getting to the playoffs to play against teams that aren't so shitty, giving our players the experience they need for the future. So if this happens again, we're in a better spot.
I agree with you. I'm just saying the team isn't good enough right now to send them to the Wolves of the Yankees in October. So what I would like to see happen is us trade for a Montas or a Malley and have the weapons needed to contend in October. I don't see that happening.
I want Wilson Contreras.
I don't see that happening.
I want Wilson
I
Contreras.
see us winning the division
more
with
than
85
I want
wins
Juan Soto.
and getting swept in the first round. All right, we have
Hot corner.
time for like 2 of them.
Nah, we're gonna get to them.
All of them?
Yeah, they're pretty quick.
All right.
It's just a run around the NFL pretty quick. And we can go. I'm lost on my sheet here.
Carl Anthony-Towns media tour should be at the bottom of the page.
Yep, media tour for Carl Anthony-Towns. Did you catch this interview after he signed his Supermax?
Yes. Expectations are championship.
Expectations are a championship. Quotes from this press conference that I took out, other than him absolutely unnecessarily trashing Pat Beverly, which put him in position to get a Supermax in the first place. Go out there and play at the level that hasn't been seen since Shaq and Kobe and do what we do best. Let's start there. Mike, any chance Anthony Edwards and Carl Anthony-Towns are Shaq and Kobe-esque?
I think numbers wise, they could put up similar-ish numbers. I don't think
Cat has the ability to rebound like Shaq or block shots like Shaq?
Does he have the capability and ability? Yes.
Will he?
Has he shown that he likes to do so? No. And it's funny because that's exactly what we brought Gobert in for.
Yes.
So I don't see him matching the rebounding numbers, but points per game, sure.
Okay. My take on that part was as good as, and by the way, congratulations on getting your max when you are a superstar player, which everybody thinks that Carl Anthony-Towns is. You deserve to be a guy that's going to make $64 million in 2028. But
more than $1 million a week.
Yeah, it's not great. I'm sorry, but Cat will never be anything close to what
He's
Shaq
a stretch
was.
4.
Now,
I don't know how you can build a team around a stretch 4, though.
Here's what I will say. If Carl Anthony-Towns continues on his developmental path, if he takes a step this year, like he took a step next year, last year.
There you go. Yep.
There we go. Do I think that he could be a player, talent, skill, IQ, killer instinct wise as Kobe Bryant? Now we're having a little bit.
Have the killer instinct or not. Though he does not have it.
Oh, stop it! I think
he does. Are you kidding me?
I think
if I called him a bad word, you know what?
Not Cat. Not Cat. Ant.
Okay.
I'm talking about Ant.
Oh, okay.
Talking about Ant.
Because you had us both going that you were talking about.
Yeah. No, if Ant takes a step,
okay,
like he took a step last year,
okay,
and he becomes the playoff monster, and he continues to develop and takes more ownership of the offense, and pretty much becomes what Kobe was when Shaq was on his way out, then I will say this probably looks the way that Cat said it will look, but not the way he wants it to look. Right. I think Cat wants it to look like I'm the big bad scary monster and I'm bringing young little Ant along
just
with
like
me.
Shaq wanted it to look.
Yeah, and guess what? At the end of Shaq being in LA, guess what? It was Kobe carrying Shaq's fat ass straight to the finals.
All right, Kyler contract detail.
Yeah.
Details. More than one detail? Just one.
Just one.
Oh, just one detail.
You want to read that, Mike?
Oh, this is awesome.
I will lose it.
New contract requires him to engage in 4 hours of undistracted, independent study each and every week of the season. failure to comply counts as a default.
And that default is worth $100 million of that $230 million contract that he signed. Mike, let me ask you, you played quarterback at a college level, right?
I did.
How many hours of film independently did you watch in college?
Per week?
Yeah, per week.
In a game week?
Yeah.
8 to 10.
8 to 10. And were you the starter? Not to throw shade.
My senior year.
Yeah. Even when you were the backup, when you were sitting, were you still watching 8 to 10 hours of film?
4 to 8 more so. Just wanted to make sure that I was ready with the base concepts and stuff, because obviously the offense was going to be a little bit simpler if the backup quarterback was in.
Yep.
But
this, and I'm going to eviscerate. Here's another word for you this week, Kyler Murray. This is fucking despicable.
Why?
I sat here on this show 2 weeks ago and said what? That the Arizona Cardinals were going to be the Seattle Seahawks of 2021, that they were going to fall apart. And I just had this feeling that there was a lack of cohesion in Arizona, right? Did I not say that? That they were just going to collapse? He is the reason. It has come out that he is the reason. I believe that if he has played 3 years in the NFL up to this point, and can they afford to let him walk and become like the Houston Texans, where the Arizona Cardinals become a quarterback dumpster fire year after year after year after year? No. So they have painted themselves into the corner to have to pay him. But to the point to where they have to put in his contract, I need you to watch minimum 4 hours of film per week on a game week, and in there says undistracted. And if you read the contract, it says not playing video games, not watching TV, and it has to be him as if he's had other people watching game film for him if he has been watching game film, period. As a quarterback in the NFL, this is your fucking job. This is horrendous. This contract not only sets back the Cardinals for the next 5 years, because what's going to happen to the rookies now? They're going to come in and go, well, if my quarterback who's making $230 million can get paid not watching film, why the hell should I have to watch film? But this also, I will put money on it. This gets Lamar out of Baltimore, and it's the final nail in the coffin. Because if you're going to guarantee Kyler that kind of money, with these kind of restrictions, and you designated that kind of money to Deshaun Watson with the playing restrictions that he's going to have with all of these cases, might I add, Lamar's going to, at minimum, going to be asking for $275 million, and Baltimore is not going to pay that.
I don't know whether or not Baltimore is going to pay it. I do know that Lamar is arguably worth less because of the risk of being injured in the way that he plays.
Sure.
So I don't know if he does get as much guaranteed money, because Lamar could take off on a read option and break his leg, which is way more possible than.
Now, me and you agree on this, but I also think that that's a product of the offense that Harbaugh runs, and he refuses to open it up to allow Lamar to do what he did in college, which is spread it out and run when he needs to versus just running him. Okay, let's get back to the Kyler point. You were a quarterback. I'm surprised that you're not screaming from the rooftops about this. This has never been put in a contract ever. You hear stories about Manning and Brady and Burrow and Mahomes and all of these guys who spend countless hours poring over film, and they get paid and they go to Super Bowls. This guy has done 4 hours is a very minimal number. Would you agree? 4 hours a week is not a lot. I spend 4 hours a week on the shitter. Mm-hmm. Okay. The fact that he can't the fact that he can't bring his iPad in there with him and bother to watch any film is absurd.
I mean, and so for those of you who don't know, I don't know how they're going to check on the undistracted part, but so Andover High School uses an app called Huddle. Pretty universal. I'd be willing to bet that NFL teams use Huddle as well. And coaches have the ability, I can go in right now and see the amount of watch time of every player on the roster for this past week. So that's probably how they're monitoring that, but I don't know how they're going to monitor the undistracted part.
There's a camera on those Microsoft tablets. I guarantee you they can see what his browsing history is on that team-issued tablet. I can guarantee you that they can turn that camera on and see if he's looking at the screen or if he's got something going on in the background or whatever the case may be. This is the NFL. They have the ability to check on those things.
And define undistracted, so can he not play music?
It has to be in the addendum.
Music while watching film is not distracting, in my opinion.
In the addendum, it reads uninterrupted. No television, no video games, not uninterrupted 4 hours.
Well, that's dumb. I should be able to do an hour Monday, hour Tuesday, hour Wednesday, hour Thursday if I wanted to.
Yeah, and you can do that.
Oh, okay.
That's 4 hours, but it has to be uninterrupted during your time that you're watching film.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too shocked at it because other NFL quarterbacks have had issues with this.
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell is exactly what I'm thinking.
Jamarcus Russell didn't get a $230 million second contract.
He couldn't have dreamed of playing as well as Kyler.
And that's the worst, but that's also the
that's a worst case scenario
bust of all time.
Well, I'm just saying, if Kyler's been playing that well without watching film,
yeah, absolutely.
Really, hold on, would you want him for the Vikings over Cousins?
Nope, not now.
No,
not now.
What I'm saying. All I'm saying is, if he's been playing that well with clearly without watching film, I would do the same thing. If you're painted in a corner, you have to sign him. Where else were they going to go with quarterback?
Exactly.
So you have to sign him. I would put the same thing in. Say, hey, you've done well enough to deserve this contract after your years of playing with us, but we know you haven't been watching film. So we're going to put this into your contract. You have to watch film, which will increase his value in theory.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Kyler Murray is a product of his environment. Kyler Murray was drafted as a very high pick to the Oakland Athletics and knew he had guaranteed money and doubled down to see if he could get more in the NFL.
Now he's making as much as the entire A's roster. So.
Yep, exactly. But here's the thing is, at no point has anybody ever been able to leverage to him, hey, you need to work harder, because when push comes to shove, much like in these late season games, much like in that playoff game against the Rams, when shit gets hard, Kyler Murray shells up a lot like Cat. This does not look good to him at all. And the question was, how did this get out to the media? I guarantee you Arizona put this out to the media because they were like, at least now when we bench him or when we have to cut him or when we go to trade him because it's not working out, because we win 10 games again this year. And then the final 7 games of the year, we go like 2-5 because Cliff Kingsbury's never had a winning record in his entire coaching career in the final part of the season. And Kyler Murray in his first 3 years doesn't have an above 500 record in the final part of the season. That we have proof now. We have put it out there that he is the problem and it's not an us thing. But if they ride with him for the next 5 years, I don't think they make the playoffs again.
We'll see. Julio Jones just signed a new contract as well.
How you just going? That's a hard switch for me. That's from very angry to very happy. I like Julio Jones. This is a good move for him. It puts him in one of the best offenses in the league. I think Tom was right to reach out to him. I think the
Bucs look nasty with him and Rudolph. I understand that they have Cameron Brate, but you bring in Rudolph for the red zone as well.
So here's the thing. I think what happened here was they brought in
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Look at the smile on Tom Brady's face. I think what happened was Tom took a look with his genius brain, his big old brain, and he said, okay, I don't have Gronk, supposedly. How do I split his role up? And you go, well, I need a bigger guy with some wheels that can catch contested passes in the seam. That would be Julio Jones. I need a guy who's got sure hands on short routes who can body defenders in the red zone. That's Kyle Rudolph. Yep. So they took Gronk's role and they split it into 2 players. Hats off to Tom, because that's a super wise move. I like this for Julio Jones because even though I don't think we will ever get league leader, league best Julio Jones ever again, his issue in Tennessee was that he reportedly just leaned too much on his physical gifts and believed that he didn't need to, believe that his talent didn't need him to practice through nagging injuries and so on and so forth. But we've heard it with Gronk after Gronk's couple of injuries. We heard it with Edelman. We've heard it with some of the other players that Tom has played with in the past. They latch on to that Alex Guerrero style recovery, believe in my body, eat healthy, do the right things, work a little harder, like become a true professional, the Patriot way type things. I think Julio not only showed up to win a Super Bowl and solidify his Hall of Fame legacy, I believe he showed up to learn from Tom and extend his career. So I think we're going to get the best of both worlds. Is Julio going to be on the field for 60 plays a game? No. Is he probably going to be on the field for 25 to 30 plays a game and all of them be very impactful? Yes.
Sure.
Great move by the Bucs.
I would agree that it's a great move by the Bucs. I'm excited to see what Julio can do in Tampa.
Yeah. And then 2 more. Time in true Vikings fashion. Time for 2 more. Katie's rumored move to the Celtics.
I don't care anymore. Really.
What do you care about, Mike?
Well,
is it ever basketball?
I just don't care about superstar divas in the NBA that want more money.
All right.
Go to the Live Tour. I just don't care. I think wherever KD goes will be an 8 seed because KD isn't enough to elevate unless he goes to a team like Boston that was basically a 2 or 3 seed. And wow, KD going to a top team to make a playoff run? Shocking.
I was going to say weird. History repeats itself. There's that word, it all comes full circle. Like it's cyclical.
For the day, folks.
Sign me up if I'm the Celtics. Marcus Smart, expiring contract, Jaylen Brown getting increasingly more expensive. And who does Jason Tatum really remind you of in that stretch 4 position outside of his Kobe Bryant style of play? Kevin Durant. This is a great mentor. Those two guys make you a playoff team. And then you add a couple of auxiliary pieces around them and you're right back in contention in the East, which is a little bit weaker next year.
I think they're in contention in the East right now, though.
I do too, but I think it becomes messy. We've seen it with Boston. Boston seems at some points to just like they started the season last year bad. When they had Kyrie, they had a stretch where they were really bad. Get a consummate professional. Let Jason Tatum continue to be the leader of the locker room.
You just called Kevin Durant a consummate professional.
Yeah.
This man is arguing with people on Twitter, calling himself a god.
He likes basketball. Like outside, I'm talking in a vacuum. Basketball Kevin. Basketball Kevin. Basketball Kevin is a top 3, top 5 player in the league. With 4 years of control left on his deal, where you can surround him with a ton of talent.
Go to the Live Tour.
So I would be all in for this. I know you guys don't necessarily care a ton for basketball, but if there is a move that has been floated out there for Kevin Durant up to this point, this one is the one that makes the most sense to me.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. Do you want to do the Soto trade or do you want to go to the DK Metcalf hold-in?
Soto trade.
Soto trade.
All right. Let's do the Juan Soto trade. Little bit of an update here. We've been following this week in and week out then. And the Nationals asking price for this once in a generation talent, probably 3 or 4 steps above Mike Trout, is 6 prospects or 4 prospects and 2 MLB ready players with extremely low service time. Is this a tone deaf ask from the Nationals?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a tone deaf ask. Soto's 22.
23.
23. Yes. Generational talent. You'll have him, what is he, team control for 4 more? 3 more?
Year and a half.
Year and a half, that's it?
That's it.
He's put in 6 MLB or 4.5 MLB service years already?
Yes.
Wow. Then maybe.
It seems
that's
like
a lot because you're gonna have to re-sign him to the
massive deal.
In a year and a half. So
Gabe, is it a tone deaf ask?
I don't know if it's tone deaf because I think there's more on.
If you're like the Yankees though that are making a push and you have the prospects, why wouldn't you?
That's my issue. And
so think about this. They want, sorry, Gabe, really quick.
Okay. No.
The Yankees want 6 prospects, or the Nationals want 6 prospects.
Yes.
So the Yankees could legitimately do that. Possibly, I guess I don't know what their prospect pool looks like, and have Stanton, Judge, and Soto in the outfield.
Well, Judge is up for a $400 million deal as well.
I know Judge is gone. Judge basically said it at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But this October, the Yankees outfield could be Soto, Judge, Stanton.
Okay.
Would you want to face that team in October?
No.
Even for 1 October, who cares? It's the Yankees. They'd go for it for a ring. When was the last time they were in the World Series?
Wait a minute.
2009? 8? 4?
Nope. 4 is the year the Red Sox
It's been
won
like 15 years, though. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Would they do it for a year for a ring? I think they might. There are teams out there that might.
Yeah. And Gabe, what were you saying there?
Well, yeah, just that, I guess the issue for me is probably a lack of understanding of the economics of baseball, because to me, this is such a stupid deal. Like, as a Cubs fan, as whatever, like, I do not want Juan Soto just because of the price tag.
The price tag.
Right? Is so enormous. And all we're seeing from all these teams is like, yeah, you can, like, look at the Yankees. They're not good enough just to have one talent like that.
Yeah.
It's like you got to have 8 dudes like that.
Yeah.
So unless your team can afford that, who wants it? And that's why Mike and I learned now twice that Mike has been in my drug drawer because he obviously did with his take on the winning too early kind of thing.
Yep.
And I do count my pills, Mike. So I just want you to know that. And I guess I just don't see like the idea of breaking up a nice nucleus that you have with the Twins to get Juan Soto. To me, is crazy.
Yeah, but
we don't have the money.
But like,
to,
think about
to
the
build
pieces
around
that
him.
we would have to trade away. You're talking about like a Royce Lewis and a Nick Gordon and
You want
But
me to go
that's
through the
not
names?
Jordan Balanzovich and like
Spencer Steer and Carlos Correa.
I don't even know if you'd have to trade Correa.
Well, that's a good trade.
I don't even know if you'd
can
have
get
to
away
It is a
with
good
those
trade.
guys. If you can get away with those guys, I don't believe you can get away with those guys.
Those are 6 up and coming prospects. That's what
Yeah.
they want.
But they're not going to just take the dude who got hurt, whose career might be over. They're not going to take the dude who we have 1 year of control over. It's a leverage thing. So they're
Yeah.
going to make us squeal for it. So
I'm
who
just-
do we not want to give up? That's who they're going to go for.
So are you ready? I have the list of teams that have made official offers, but it has not been disclosed who the players are.
Okay.
The Mets, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Dodgers, and the Giants have all made official offers to Juan Soto. None of them have been accepted.
If I'm the Mariners, I'm taking back that offer.
If I'm the Mariners, I'm finding a way to get it done. I'm paying him, and I'm handcuffing him and Julio Rodriguez together and riding that thing until the wheels fall off.
I think they're good enough without him to be really good for a decade. I really do.
Yeah.
This is what I read on that is that all this stuff from the Nationals, like how they're kind of acting like the trade is imminent,
Yeah.
is actually a bluff, and that they are absolutely content to sit on him until September or November, whenever
Yeah.
this thing ends, and that it's sort of a bluff that they might even end up with him when the new management comes in, even though it's so ugly right now. So I think it could be, I don't know. I was kind of convinced from what I read. I wish I could cite the source. But.
Well, Tim Kirkshin, 1.5 year roster control means that Juan Soto doesn't hit the free agent market until 2024.
Right.
That seems like a long ways away and a long time for a guy to be really unhappy with where he's playing without a deal.
It's happened before, though.
You know what I mean? So like, out of those teams, by the way, where would you like to see him play the most?
Mets.
Really? Okay.
Huh. That is such a good question. I think so. He's one of the players for me that I could love him or I could hate him really easily. The Soto shuffle, first time I saw it, made me want to puke. Now I appreciate it and all that stuff. But so I guess if I want to make him a villain, I'd like to see him in. I'd like to see him just go to the Yankees. Yeah, what the hell?
I want to see him play the hero. I want him to go to the Giants. I want him to go to the Giants so bad.
But if he goes to the Giants are still bad.
What? Yeah, why the Giants?
The Giants are still bad.
Because the Giants are a team that prior to recently, when they tried to make
good for 20 years. It's their time to be bad for a while now.
Well, here's the thing. They could avoid that and the reason they were good
But
for
why would that be good for the
The reason, and the Giants are because the Giants-Dodgers rivalry I love. That's like that's like watching Boston, New York. For me, I love watching that series. That series was at its best when Bonds was there. In my opinion, it was
Dodgers
competitive.
weren't great back then, though.
They weren't. But if you want to revitalize that, how many times a year would you like to see Mookie Betts square off against Juan Soto?
Well, considering baseball is one of those things where they don't actually square off against each other.
Right. But the other piece of this being prior to them buying guys like Ben Zobrist and going out and making all of these moves to try to get to the playoffs again at the end of Buster Posey's career, they were a farm system team. If you get Soto and you pay him, you might have a really down year for a year and a half.
Be good in a few years, yeah.
But then in the meat of that contract, you got a bunch of young guys that you're not paying around the best hitter in baseball, while guys like Harper and Trout fade. Yeah. While Judge gets even older, while Giancarlo Stanton gets older, as the Red Sox reset, as the Toronto Blue Jays can't hold it together. Strategically, we talked about this with Russell Wilson, right? It would have been better for him to come to a place like Minnesota than it would have been for him to go to a place like Denver. because Denver, it's not the right time to compete there. If he goes to New York, he's got to square off.
Of winning.
No, he's got to square off against Boston. He's got to square off against a Boston team that's going to reset. He's got to square off against.
Go to the Mets.
I could see that happen.
I could too, but it's not like Miami's not on its way. It's not like.
Yeah, but if he goes to the Mets,
I like
the
Miami
Mets
a lot.
The Mets are on their way.
And the Phillies are on their way back as well. If they get some pitching, they're a formidable team. Like, I just think about where can you go and be like, you know what? Not just for 1 year, but for 10 years, I could win a division.
You want to know the team that he could legitimately go to and win the division for 8 out of the next 10 years?
Ooh.
The Minnesota Twins.
I agree with you.
As
I cannot even
I agree with you.
see him in that uniform. I mean, truly.
I can because, no joke, I do have to bring this up.
Yeah.
I do have to bring this up. So I'm a gamer. That's why we have our Twitch. I just haven't set it up yet.
You've already simulated.
No, I didn't even do it. So I was playing as my player on MLB The Show. I only control me. That's it. Just get to play as my at-bats, the balls that are hit to me, and that's it. I have no roster control whatsoever. I chose the team that I wanted to sign my rookie deal with, which was the Twins. And like 6 years in, they had acquired Juan Soto.
Oh, you want to know why that might be? Because who is the only other team that had a final offer in at the deadline for Juan Soto when he was coming out of international play? The Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, so we've learned today from Nash, too, that the Twins were in the running for Shohei Ohtani in international play. So there is an alternate universe out there
where we have them
that
both.
Sort of thing. Where the Minnesota Twins have Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto.
And Miguel Cabrera.
So
It's I mean, it is so weird that I feel like baseball is like in such a great spot, and I can't think of anywhere I want to see him go, except sort of I have this weird thing about Tampa.
You just want to see him play with Wander Franco.
I think it'd be an exciting young team. Same thing with Miami. Well, I think Miami was kind of really the one I was going for because him and Jazz would be cool. But yeah, either one. Yeah. But I just see him hot weather. I can see him revitalizing it down there. You know, like having that become a hot, baseball place again.
Yeah.
And then they can get busted up right away and trade it off for parts.
Well, I think that's our show for the day.
You don't want to do the DK thing?
No.
Right.
I don't care. He's a hold in. He's there.
You can't, because you can't legally hold out anymore. Yeah. It's against the CBA.
I don't care about DK.
I just wanted to know if you thought he was done in Seattle.
They're going to they're going to win 4 games without him and 5 games with him. Who cares?
He's not on steroids, huh?
No.
That's amazing.
He just eats people.
Baltimore's actually. Have you listened to what his diet is?
No.
It's Lamar Odom's diet. It's gummy bears and Skittles and candy. The guy does not eat healthy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait till he hits 30. He'll be out of the league.
He's going to turn into Leonard Fournette. By the way, that clip did really well on TikTok, Gabe.
Leonard Fournette tip. I don't even remember that. What was that clip?
We'll have to run it. We'll run it back for you after the show.
All right.
Well, that's what we got.
If you are a sports fan with sports friends, make sure to give a like, a share is always appreciated, and show your friends our show.
Absolutely.
You can always find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch.
Very true. UFC 277 coming up is something that we might be covering next week. Obviously, we will be a step closer to the NFL season. More storylines.
Days away from the Hall of Fame game at that point.
That's right. We'll be days away from the Hall of Fame game. So obviously, more and more storylines coming out around guys like DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to get traded? We will be covering the MLB trade deadline a little bit more heavily as time closes in, as we will probably have to console Gabe in yet another Chicago Cubs fire sale. Among all the other interesting topics in sports, as always, we were glad to have you guys with us this Thursday. We look forward to having you next Thursday. Stay safe. Take care. Be well.
MBC. No relation to NBC.